The 2022 Tennessee football season was pretty insane. At one point, it looked like the Volunteers were legitimate college football playoff contenders. They had the frontrunner for the Heisman Trophy and had one of the biggest wins of the last decade or so. Unfortunately, they were humbled against Georgia, and then things completely fell apart against South Carolina. But overall, Tennessee had an incredible 2022 season, and hopefully, Josh Heupel set the tone for how things are going to be in Rocky Top from now on. In today's video, I want to talk about the 2023 team though. Everyone's hyping up Joe Milton as the next big thing in the SEC. Many think that Tennessee is once again a dark horse college football playoff team. And today, I want to address the hype, talk about this year's team, go through their schedule and try and give an accurate prediction, and overall just talk about the 2023 team. Will they be better than last year? Will they even make a bowl? How's the quarterback situation going to go? And what will be their biggest games? We are going to address all of those topics today, but before we do, quickly be sure to subscribe, leave a like, leave a comment, and let me know your prediction for this year's Tennessee team. Now, let's go back and revisit how they got to this point. So, going into the 2022 season, Josh Heupel was now going to be in his second season as the head coach, and they would return their star quarterback Hendon Hooker, who absolutely blew up at the end of the 2021 season. He could have went to the 2022 NFL Draft, but instead decided to come back and use his final year of eligibility. Hendon had a pretty insane season, and with them returning both Cedric Tillman and Jalen Hyatt, it looked like the offense was going to be even better than the 2021 team. Unfortunately, many scouts and different writers didn't agree, as they didn't even rank Tennessee in their top 25. Personally, I had them ranked in the early 20s. In week 1, they'd play against Ball State, which was a 59-10 shutout, before a huge road matchup with number 17 Pitt. Pitt was one of the glory stories of the 2021 season with the rise of Kenny Pickett. And now with Keaton Slovis at the helm, it was going to make for an entertaining game. It was in fact probably the best game of week 2 in my opinion, as Tennessee would get the game to overtime and eventually win 34-27. It was scary for them, but Tennessee was proving they were somewhat legit. After that, they'd go home and absolutely destroy Akron, and the biggest storyline from that game was that they would lose Cedric Tillman for the season. After that, College Game Day would come to town for number 20 Florida, as Anthony Richardson had already led Florida to a terrific start, and this was going to be a great rivalry battle. Tennessee would pull away towards the end of the game, but Anthony Richardson had one shot at a Hail Mary, which would end up falling short, giving Tennessee a 38-33 win and a 4-0 start. After that, they'd travel to number 25 LSU, whose only hiccup was an early week 1 loss to Florida State. In that game, Tennessee completely dominated from start to finish, winning that game 40-13, and now shooting them up to number 6 in the country. This was a huge matchup, and with Alabama coming to town the following weekend, it was going to be one of the biggest games in Tennessee in years. At least, that's what I thought. They brought Peyton Manning in for game day, sold every single ticket possible, and this was the most hyped up game I had seen in years. In a game that I was personally at, Tennessee ended up winning 52-49 after Jahmyr Gibbs dropped a pass, Will Reichert missed a field goal, and then Hendon Hooker had 2 insane completions before a knuckleball field goal for the win. I witnessed the goalpost go onto the field, and it was the craziest college football experience of my life. At this point, Tennessee football was at the top of the world and were ranked as high as number 3 in the country. They killed UT Martin the following weekend, and then destroyed number 19 Kentucky at Neyland. Right now, the Volunteers were 8-0, but everyone knew the Georgia game was going to show what they were truly made of. On the road against the number 3 Dogs, it was probably the biggest letdown game since Georgia-Clemson to open up the 2021 season, as Tennessee just looked completely lost, and they ended up losing 27-13, basically giving Georgia the SEC East. After that, Tennessee would come home and put up 66 points in a win over Missouri, before a road trip against South Carolina. In this game, everything would completely fall apart, as they lost 63-38, couldn't do anything on defense, and ultimately also lost Hendon Hooker to an ACL injury. Whether Hendon Hooker had an ACL or not, we all knew Tennessee was going to beat Vanderbilt the following week, and they would do that in 56-0 fashion, but they would end up missing the college football playoff and would have to settle for the Orange Bowl. Against number 7 Clemson, Tennessee showed a glimpse of the future. We saw the rise of Joe Milton, as they ended up beating the Tigers 31-14. Tennessee overall had an insane season. Unfortunately, the wheels fell off in the first 4 weeks of November, but ultimately, it was a tremendous season for them, and now both Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt are off to the NFL. So, who do the Volunteers bring back this year, and what does their roster even look like? Now let's take a look at that. In terms of the quarterback spot, they will return Joe Milton. In my opinion, he'll at least be in the top half of starting quarterbacks, and I won't go as far to say he's going to win the Heisman or be the best in the conference, but I also don't think he's going to be a complete bust either. He got a chance to start multiple games at Michigan and even started at the beginning of the 2021 season for Tennessee, so it's not like this guy is completely unheard of and that magically all his flaws are going to go away. Either way, he has a tremendous arm, has now been in the Heupel system for over 2 years, and I think will have a good season for them. If he struggles, they have true freshman 5-star Nico Iamaleava, who's the highest ranked quarterback commit in school history and will be the future of the program. So either way, the quarterback position, I think, is in good hands. When it comes to running back, the Volunteers are also in pretty good shape. They returned their top 3 rushers from last season, which included backups Jalen Wright and Dylan Sampson. I like both of those guys to get even better, but the main dude is going to be Jabari Small. In my opinion, he's going to play his way into the NFL draft. In my opinion, I think he's going to have a good enough season that he'll play his way into a mid-round NFL draft pick and be an 1,000-yard rusher for them. I think ultimately early on in the season they're going to have to lean on him a little bit, and overall, I'm really excited for Small. The Vols have been pumping plenty of wide receivers into the NFL over the last few years, and I think that'll once again continue after the 2023 season. As I said, they lost both Cedric Tillman and Jalen Hyatt to the 3rd round of this year's draft, but luckily, they have a couple players who I'm really excited to watch. First and foremost, I think Brew McCoy is going to become a top 3 receiver in the entire SEC and probably become a mid-round draft pick. At one point, he was the top receiver in his high school class, and after a confusing start at Texas and USC, McCoy transferred to Tennessee, where I think he'll be the number 1 option this year and be an 1,000 receiver, 10+ yard touchdown kind of player. After that, you'll have Ramel Keaton, who has slowly but surely been gaining more of a role for them, and I think will quickly take over that 2nd spot. Finally, you're going to have Squirrel White, who according to 24/7 Sports is a potential rising superstar. He could be the next big thing for them, but right now, I think he'll settle in at that 3rd spot. After that, the player I'm most excited for is probably Dante Thornton, who is an Oregon transfer who was highly recruited coming out of high school. Besides those guys, you also have Caleb Webb, Chaz Nimrod, and Nathan Leacock, who could also get on the field. And besides that, I'm not super in the know about how some of the freshman receivers are playing, but who knows what could happen with them. At tight end, Jacob Warren will be the starter, and then their transfer tight end, McClellan Castles, will also get a chance to play. On the offensive line, you'll return a very experienced group, as while Darnell Wright was a top 10 pick, you'll return John Campbell, Ollie Lane, Cooper Mays, Javontes Spraggins, and Gerald Mincy. That should be the projected top 5. And on the defensive side of the ball, I'm excited to watch defensive lineman Tyler Barron, safety Jalen McCullough, linebacker Aaron Beasley, and defensive lineman Elijah Simmons. The defense will once again need to improve, and if they ever want to be a true college football playoff contender, they're going to have to get more lead on that side of the ball. Either way though, there is plenty of talent at the quarterback spot. They return an offensive line with a lot of experience. They return a lot of upperclassmen on the offensive line, have some proven playmakers, and some guys with a lot of potential. So how will this translate to the actual football field? Let's take a look at them, let's take a look at their schedule, and give them a preview. It is also worth noting that Tennessee got a new offensive coordinator, as Alex Golesh left to take the head coaching job at USF, and Joey Haslam will take the OC job, who is the former quarterbacks coach for them. So personally, I've already gone through every single college football game and made my prediction, and I have to keep that consistent, so you may or may not agree with every pick I have. In week 1, Tennessee has a very interesting matchup, as Virginia will come to Nashville, Tennessee for a quote-unquote neutral site game. Virginia, in my opinion, is in a pretty dark spot and should be at the bottom of the ACC, and there is no reason why Tennessee should not win this game by at least 2 touchdowns. Who knows though, as anything can happen in week 1, but more than likely, Tennessee wins this game and advances to 1-0. In week 2, they'll come home to play against Austin Peay, and that game will be over after the first quarter. 2-0 start for the Vols. In week 3, they're going to go on the road and play Florida. At this point, the Gators should be somewhat battle-tested, as they have to go on the road to play Utah in week 1, so they should already have some of their kinks worked out, and this should be a competitive game. In my opinion, Tennessee still has the advantage though, as while Florida will have the home field advantage, they really don't have a quarterback right now, and I think Tennessee's offense will put up enough points to win this matchup. It could be close, but I'm going to pick the Volunteers to upset the Gators. Tennessee is now 3-0. After that, we have what in my opinion is one of the weirdest and a potential trip up for the Vols. They get UTSA at home. In an average year, the average fan is probably going to say this game is a breeze, but UTSA has quietly been one of the best Group of 5 programs over the last few years, and I'm not really exaggerating. They've had back-to-back 10-win seasons and have either beaten or gotten close to beating multiple Power 5 teams over the last 2 seasons. Well, I think Tennessee's going to win this game. I think it'll only be by a touchdown or two, and it'll be a lot closer than the experts predict. Either way, Tennessee moves on to 4-0. After that, they have 2 more games at home, as they'll play both South Carolina and Texas A&M at home to start out the month of October. While South Carolina has a considerable amount of hype to them this year, I think there's no chance they win this game, as 1, it's at Neyland, 2, I think Tennessee is more talented, and 3, the Volunteers have surely not forgotten what happened last year. I think Tennessee will absolutely blow South Carolina out in this game, before a close game just 2 weeks later. They'll have a bye to prepare for A&M, and while A&M's always laughed at for being overrated, I do think the Aggies are going to take the next step this year, and this game's going to be close. For a while, I wanted to predict A&M to win it, but in my opinion, it's completely 50-50, and I give the Vols the advantage because they're at home. This will put them at 7-0, and you might be thinking to yourself that I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt too much, but I do think Tennessee comes back down to earth to finish the year. After that, they go on the road to play Alabama, which I think will get ugly. I have that for 3 reasons. 1, Bama has not forgotten what happened last year. 2, it's at Bryant-Denny. And 3, Bama is just way more talented than Tennessee still. Everything had to go perfect for Tennessee to win last year, and that's just not going to happen this year, and I think Bama's going to steamroll Tennessee and give them their first loss of the year. After that, Tennessee goes on the road to Kentucky, and this game will go one of 2 ways. Either Tennessee gets completely embarrassed, or Tennessee wins by a lot. Kentucky returns a lot of talent, but I'm not quite sure how good they're going to be at this point in the season. And right now, there's a lot of what-ifs for Kentucky. A lot of transfers have to pan out, and after that loss to Bama, I think Tennessee is going to win. After that, they return home to play against UConn, which will be a win, before I have the most controversial take in today's preview. I think Tennessee is going to lose on the road to Missouri. It's seemingly been since 2020 since Mizzou beat a ranked team at home, and the Tigers, in my opinion, return a top 3 defense in the country. Return a top 3 defense in the conference. This is a big if, but if Missouri's quarterback situation is somewhat decent, then I think this will be one of the upset games of the year in the SEC, and Mizzou's going to win a close one at home. And that'll give Tennessee their second loss of the year. I could be completely wrong though. After that, they get Georgia at home, and while I'd like for that game to be close, at this point I can't say it will be, and I'm going to give the Dogs the benefit of the doubt, and that'll give Tennessee an 8-3 record. After that, they'll get Vanderbilt at home, which I think they'll win pretty easily, which will get them to 9-3. Unfortunately, they're not going to win the SEC East, and they'll probably go to a solid bowl game. Depending on the matchup, they could either be 9-4 or 10-3. That's how I think the season will go for them, and in my opinion, they're going to have definite losses to both Alabama and Georgia, and in their 50-50 games against Florida, Texas A&M, Kentucky, and Missouri, I think they're going to lose one of them, potentially 2. And I've decided to be gutsy and pick the Mizzou Tigers to win. Who knows though, as I'm not a college football expert by any means, and this is just purely my opinion, so be sure to let me know what I got right and wrong down below. Let me know your thoughts on this year's Tennessee team, let me know what team I should cover next, and before you go, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.